Going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day, and today the Denver Broncos have beat the Green Bay Packers 27-2 in the preseason. Yeah, you heard that right, 27-2. If the Broncos didn't score 27 points, I would have made some joke saying like this is some baseball score. Now you will see a baseball team go crazy sometimes and reach like 21, maybe at the most 24, 25 runs, but it'd take a crazy performance to score 27 runs in baseball. But I was thinking about saying something about a baseball score, but even though 27 is not a crazy number in football, 27 is a very high number, in baseball. But weird score. Even though it's preseason, I wouldn't say if this. I don't know if this is scoregami in the regular season, but preseason, I don't know. I don't know if this score has ever happened in the preseason. That's an interesting one to think about. 27-2 is the final score. Broncos win. They're 2-0 in the preseason now, beating the Indianapolis Colts and now the Green Bay Packers. They've done a really solid job scoring the football in their first two games. Their first game, they scored 34 points. The offense looked great. All three quarterbacks looked good. Zach Wilson, Bo Nix, and Jarrett Stidham. And then today, Zach Wilson didn't look great, but Stidham looked good, and Bo Nix looked amazing. And that's who I'm going to start this off with. Bo Nix is the real deal. He has shown some great things. For a rookie quarterback, looks amazing. Today went 8 for 9 with 80 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. Thing I look at with Bo Nix, though, is that, if you look at, what he has done in the first two preseason games, so far he's 23 for 30 with 205 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns with a total of 17 rushing yards. 30 passing attempts, probably in an NFL game. Honestly, with the way they've had him throw the ball to start, this is a guy who could be getting in a round of average. If he is the starter, I would say potentially an average of around, let's say, 33 to 38 pass attempts per game. And this is just 30 pass attempts. He's thrown 205 passing yards and also 2 passing touchdowns, 17 rushing yards. Some of that play has not been with the first team. I think for most of the game against the Indianapolis Colts, if not all, the whole time he was playing against the Colts, he was not with the first team. Now, in this game, he was with the first team the entire time. The first team was out there with him the entire time when he threw 80 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown, 8 for 9. Now, that's a different story last week against the Indianapolis Colts. So, if he is throwing 205 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns and throwing 23 for 30, which is a great efficiency, if you look at it, 23 for 30, with also 2 passing touchdowns and 17 rushing yards and no interceptions and 30 passing attempts, if he's probably going to average around maybe 33 to 38 pass attempts per game with the Broncos, he looks pretty good. He looks really good for only 30 throws so far in his first 2 preseason games. It's not like Nix is playing outstanding and Stidham is playing bad. Jarrett Stidham has looked pretty solid. He just has not looked good enough to potentially beat Bo Nix for the starting job. Now, he has thrown so far in the first 2 games 11 for 18, 105 passing yards in his first 2 games. So he has not thrown the ball as much as Bo Nix has. Nix has thrown a total of 103 more passing yards, but has also thrown the ball 12 more times, which is important. Stidham's number of passing yards would probably be a little bit higher if he threw the ball as much as Nix has so far at 30 pass attempts. Now, I want to mention that I don't see this job being announced right after this game. And I could be wrong. It surprised me. But Bo Nix has been good, like I mentioned. But I don't think what we've seen from him so far I don't think it's enough for Sean Payton to make an announcement at quarterback with one preseason game remaining. Look at a division rival in the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders yesterday they had a preseason game against the Cowboys, and Gardner Minshew looked great. Aiden O'Connell looked solid, but made some mistakes. I know he threw an interception, which was a pick six. I know he had some other mistakes, and those mistakes were enough for Antonio Pierce to say Gardner Minshew is the starting quarterback. That last preseason game does not matter. Minshew will be the starting quarterback. Now I don't think that's what it's going to be with this quarterback situation. The Vegas quarterback situation is a little bit different. You got a veteran in Minshew going up against a second year guy who was a starter, Aiden O'Connell. Now this one is a guy in Jarrett Stidham who's never really been a starter besides starting the last couple games for a couple teams in these last couple years. He did that for Denver last year, and he did that for the Raiders a couple years ago versus a rookie. This is not that same QB battle. So I think it's gonna come down to the last preseason game for Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. And look, both guys have looked good so far, but one guy's looked better, and that's the rookie Bo Nix. If I were the coach, I would definitely pick Bo Nix as the starting quarterback. I think he's shown some great things for a rookie quarterback, and I don't think Jarrett Stidham has made much of enough of an impact for them to overrule Bo Nix as the starting quarterback. For them to say, Bo, you're gonna sit on the bench. Jarrett's the starter to start out the season, week one. I don't think I don't think Jarrett has had that kind of impact so far. But I want to go over this game. 27-2 is the final score. Still feels so weird every time I say that. Scoring summary, it starts off with a Will Lutz 37-yard field goal to make it 3-0. And then Tim Patrick would have a 2-yard touchdown pass from Bo Nix to make it 10-0. And then how about Jarrett Stidham? Look, I did forget to mention this, a 9-yard touchdown run. So he has scored a touchdown. 17-0 after that. Another Will Lutz field goal, 39-yard field goal. It's 20-0. And then here's where they get those 2 points. Zach Morton with a sack in the end zone, sacking Zach Wilson to make it 20-2. But then Zach Wilson has a redemption, throwing a 7-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Batty. All right, game leaders, Michael Pratt, the rookie quarterback from Tulane, threw 10 for 16 with 52 passing yards, leading Green Bay in yards in this game, passing yards in this game. No Jordan Love. While Bo Nix threw 8 for 9 with 80 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. All right, rushing yards. Wilson, 13 carries, 41 rushing yards. For the Broncos, Watson, 6 carries with 20 rushing yards. For the Green Bay Packers, Malik Heath, 3 receptions, 22 receiving yards, while Tim Patrick had 4 receptions, 30 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. Let's go over some other stats in this game as we'll get into them. Sean Clifford, second-year quarterback for the Packers, threw 6 for 10 with 43 passing yards and 1 interception. Now, also another important detail. Yes, did Jarrett Stidham score a touchdown? He was able to get in the end zone for a 9-yard touchdown, but he threw an interception, which is a key note, and was sacked, which is something that Bo Nix did not happen today to him. He was not sacked at all. Zach Wilson threw 2 for 6 with 29 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, was sacked twice, including for a safety. So, look, I don't think we saw Zach Wilson for enough in this game to make a full evaluation of his performance, but I think it was kind of even. I mean, yes, did he get sacked for a safety, but I don't really think that. I don't know how they got backed up into the end zone. So, I mean, it could have. I don't know if it was his fault at all. There are many ways I could think of to get backed up in the end zone where it's not his fault. Number one, a good punt by the Broncos, a good punt by the Packers, and some penalties, which good chance those penalties are probably by the offensive line. So yes, I guess he did get sacked in the end zone, but I mean, good chance it was probably the offensive line's fault. But he still goes out there, throws 2 for 6 with 29 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. So I mean, look, he wasn't out there enough to really, talk about if he was good or bad. He made some mistakes, but at the same time, he made some good throws. So, yeah, not bad by Zach. All right, Blake Watson, as I already mentioned, led them in rushing yards, but Javonte Williams had 3 carries for 17 rushing yards, and Jaleel McLaughlin had 3 carries for 17 rushing yards. Samaje Perine, who they signed from the Bengals, was able to have some carries, 5 carries with 16 rushing yards. Bo Nix also ran for 12 rushing yards. Yeah, that's my bad. He's run for 29 rushing yards in his first 2 preseason games. Jarrett Stidham had a 9-yard touchdown run. Now, for the Packers, outside of Emmanuel Wilson, there wasn't a lot of rushing yards. Sean Clifford was able to run for 11 yards, and Michael Pratt was able to run for 7 yards. All right, in receiving yards, outside of Tim Patrick for the Broncos, Greg Dulcich had 2 receptions for 27 receiving yards. Cortland Sutton had 1 reception for 23 receiving yards. Michael Bandy had 1 reception for 22 receiving yards. 1 reception for 20 receiving yards by Little Jordan Humphrey. And the final one I will go over is 1 reception for Javonte Williams, which was a 15-yard gain. All right, some fumbles. There was 1 fumble lost in this game, and that was by Michael Pratt, the quarterback, and was recovered by Jonah Ellis. All right, defensive leaders, tackles for the Broncos, 8 tackles for Jonas Griffith, and 11 tackles for Tyron Hopper, with 11 tackles. And the Packers had a total of 3 sacks. 1 sack for Zach Morton, who was the safety. Brenton Cox Jr. had 1, and Brevin Allen had 1 sack as well. For the Broncos, they had 2 sacks with 5 tackles for loss. 1 sack for the former Arizona Cardinals, Zach Allen. The other sack was to Jonah Ellis, who I already went over. All right. So yeah, it really recaps the game. Broncos win 27-2. It was a great performance by the Broncos. Great performance by Bo Nix. He looked great. Jarrett Stidham looked solid. Scored a touchdown as well. Will Lutz, the kicker, looked good. And the defense looked good too. Although the offensive line and offense did not look good when Zach Wilson was sacked in the end zone, which did cause the Broncos to miss a shutout in this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.